It all began when my sister and I found ourselves embroiled in a debate about the distinctions between boys and girls. I believed that girls had it easy, while she was convinced I was completely off the mark. Our conversation stretched on for about 20 minutes, neither of us making much headway, until our mother entered the room and caught wind of our exchange. My sister made a rather straightforward remark. "You should try walking in my shoes for a while. Then you would see what it's like to be a girl." Yeah, right. Later that afternoon, while I was in my room, I decided to get under her skin. Since both she and Mom were out shopping, I sneaked into her room and gathered enough clothes to transform myself from a boy into a girl. I even snagged her hairpiece. It took a bit of time to figure out all the snaps, buttons, and hooks, but eventually I was fully dressed in her attire. I applied a touch of makeup, choosing a soft red lipstick, and slipped on her light brown heels, using her fall to style my hair. After hearing them return, I waited about 20 minutes before heading down the stairs and into the family room. Cheryl was on the phone and didn't notice me at first, but I overheard her recounting our earlier conversation. Just as she was in the middle of it, she caught sight of me. Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. "Oh my God, why are you dressed like that? You said I should try walking a mile in your shoes, and since I was already in your closet, I thought I'd give this a shot." Cheryl hung up the phone and stared at me for a moment before calling for Mom, who took one look and burst into giggles. "You look lovely, dear, but that hardly qualifies as walking a mile in her shoes. Since you've chosen to prove your sister wrong, why not do it properly? In fact, I think I'll insist on it. This will deflate that male chauvinistic mindset of yours and help you appreciate what women endure every day, all while looking pretty." "What? School lets out in about a week, right? The day after summer break begins, you'll get to experience life as a girl, and I'll be right there to help you achieve that goal." "Mom, no, this was just a joke. I'm sure you won't see it as a joke when I have you in rollers and a lovely house dress while you're doing the dishes. Remember that day after school ends, and by the way, pick a nice name, or I'll choose one for you." I put up some resistance, but ultimately, I knew Mom was determined to see this through. My sister Cheryl was leaving for 3 weeks, which meant Mom and I would be alone together during that time. The silver lining, if there was any, was that Cheryl wouldn't be around to see this fiasco. I didn't breathe a word to my friends about what was coming, hoping I could still change Mom's mind, or that I wouldn't look as good as she expected. I wasn't exactly nervous, but the thought never left my mind. On the last day of school, I was home before noon, and with Mom not around, I turned on the TV and relaxed on the couch, thinking she had forgotten her threat. I should have known better. The fact that I was the same size as my sister should have clued me in that, with little to no expense, and regardless of how I looked, Mom could pull this off. "Chad, are you home?" "In here, Mom." "Good, we can get started. You weren't serious about that, were you? It was just a silly prank to get a rise out of her." "Yes, I know, but you accepted the challenge, dear, and now it's time to face the music. Go to your room and undress. I'll be up shortly." "Ah, Mom." "None of that, now do as you're told." I might as well have been talking to a brick wall. I went to my room and stripped down to my briefs just as she entered. Without a word, she opened a bottle of some gooey substance and began to lather me with it, from my ankles to my chin. I was coated like a greased pig. It smelled awful, felt worse, and itched like crazy, but she kept an eye on me as I endured it for the required time. Finally, I was mercifully sent to the shower to wash it off, with strict orders to shave as closely as possible and wash my hair. Starting with panties, Mom stood watch, occasionally guiding me as I slowly put on the bra, patted it with some socks, and pulled on the pantyhose. Without a word, she gestured towards Cheryl's room, and soon I was sitting there applying makeup. Then came the rollers. Once she was satisfied, it was back to my room to finish getting dressed. First, a waist cincher, then a panty girdle that she padded out with small towels, followed by a short white slip. She slipped the dress over my head, zipped it up, and handed me a pair of low heels to wear. My feet slid into them, and I saw myself in the mirror. Even with the rollers still in, I looked like a girl, and not a bad-looking one at that. I'm not model pretty, but not bad. Back at the vanity, she took out the rollers and began to brush out my hair, leaving me with a very nice pageboy style that completed the look. In just about 2 hours, she had transformed me from male to female. I was actually amazed at the way I looked and didn't resist her gentle tug on my shoulder. I followed her into the family room. "So, what shall we call you now?" "Beautiful." "That's true, but don't be smart, or I'll choose a name for you." How about Scarlet? It has the same initial as your own name." "Okay, I guess, but why do I need a name like that?" "Because you'll be dressing this way every day from now until your sister gets back home. By then, you'll be so good at this that she'll be shocked when she sees, and I assume the challenge will have been met. Besides, I want to see the look on her face when she takes one look at you." I knew that look and realized that trying to get out of this would be impossible. I was going to be wearing a skirt or dress for at least 3 weeks. I suppose I could have made it difficult and gotten angry with her, but to this day, I don't know why I didn't. Without a word, Mom left me there and returned with her purse and one for me. "We have to do a little shopping, and you might as well get used to it now, since you'll be doing it from now on." That was it. Mom held the door open for me, waiting as I gathered the courage to leave the safety of the house. I finally stepped outside, desperately wanting to rush to the car, but Mom took her time before we set off. The grocery store wasn't too crowded, and I started to relax. However, as we entered the store, the woman Cheryl often babysat for approached us. Mistaking me for Cheryl, she asked if I could babysit that night. I was at a loss for words, certainly not yes, that was out of the question. Mom, however, had other plans. She introduced me as Scarlet, her other daughter, and said I would be there. The woman walked away smiling, leaving me bewildered and wondering what on earth was happening. She always relies on Cheryl, and since she is gone and you're here, why not? Besides, you need the money. As usual, she was right. I was broke, but babysitting. As a girl, I grabbed the cart and followed Mom up and down the aisles as she filled it up. I saw a few familiar faces, but managed to avoid them, so I wasn't on guard when I pushed the cart up to the checkout line. Cheryl's boyfriend's sister Esther walked up, a friendly smile on her face. "Hi. I thought you were Cheryl. You two could be sisters." "They are in a way, dear. This is Scarlet." "You two look so much alike, it's scary, Scarlet." "Just lucky," I softly muttered. "Listen, we're having a get-together tonight. Why don't you come over?" Mom didn't say a word and let me stammer a bit before I told Esther I had to babysit and couldn't make it. "Maybe next time then. I'll call you. Bye." Mom paid the bill, and we left the store, piled everything into the car, and went home. On the way, "See, I told you that you looked just fine. Why, Esther didn't even recognize you." "Gee, Mom, I'm thrilled. And you should be. You liked it, and you know it. It's just too bad you have to babysit tonight. It sounded like a fun party." "Mom, I dressed up as a joke, remember? You're the one who decided it was some kind of challenge, not Cheryl, and certainly not me. I have no intention of going to any party anywhere dressed this way." Mom didn't bring it up again, but after we put the groceries away, she suggested I might want to refresh my makeup before going to babysit. Right after dinner, with her help, I did as she instructed, then drove to Mrs. Hanson's house. Her husband let me in with barely a glance, and I made sure not to display any masculine mannerisms around them. They have 2 kids, a 3-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. Contrary to my expectations, the kids were a breeze. I read them both a story, and they drifted off to sleep around 8, leaving me the rest of the night to watch television and get paid for it. The parents returned around 11, and after they paid me, I headed home. On the way home, I realized that neither of them had thought of me as a boy. The same thing had happened earlier that day, which was a bit unsettling. I mean, was I so easily transformed into a girl in just one day? Did simply wearing a skirt have that much of an impact? I slipped into bed, wondering about myself, the effect dressing as a girl had on me, and whether I would do it again the next day. Mom said 3 weeks, 3 whole weeks as a girl. I didn't think I could do it, but then, was I willing to try? I know I looked rough the next morning, but Mom didn't say a word until later, when she told me it was time I learned to do my own makeup and hair. I did it, but she guided me, and soon I looked much like I did the day before. I wore a short skirt with a sleeveless pullover top, pantyhose, and flats, which was fortunate because Esther stopped by shortly after that. Mom let her in, she saw me, and with a smile, joined me in the family room. Lewis says that Cheryl doesn't have a sister, and that means you have to be her brother. This is so weird. Why are you dressed as a girl? I explained the whole situation, including how Mom decided I should experience what girls go through every day to get ready, and how I wasn't a willing participant. I couldn't tell you when to go hell. You look better than some of my friends, and I know they are girls. Thanks, I think. You're very pretty, Scarlet, and there's no shame in that. Just go with the flow, and everything will be fine. I'm trying, Esther, I'm trying, but I always feel awkward. That'll go away. In fact, Tiffany is having a get-together at her house tomorrow night. Why did you come with me? Yeah, right. Let all of my friends see me this way. I don't think so. What makes you think they'll know who you are? I didn't, and I've known you for years. Yes, but I'll be over to get you at 7. Wear something nice, with heels, of course. I gotta go now, bye. Esther left me sitting there, wondering just how I was going to get out of this. If I didn't go, she might spill the beans, and if I did go, I might as well tell them myself. I didn't want to do it, but the alternative was worse. I think this will be the perfect opportunity for you to discover just how it is for us girls. Getting ready, then becoming just eye candy for the men, I mean. I looked at Mom, feeling a heavy sense of resignation as she wagged her finger at me, instructing me to go upstairs and try on several of Cheryl's dresses. She suggested that maybe we should visit the salon to get a better haircut. When Mom had that look, I knew better than to argue, so I conceded. With Mom watching, I tried on 5 dresses. She made the final selection on which one looked the best on me, though it wasn't my first choice. After that, I drove us to the salon, insisting that I would only get a cut, no perm. Mom agreed, saying a perm would be too severe for now. At the salon, the stylist was pleasant and helpful. I accepted her recommendations, but reiterated no perm, just to be sure. She cut, snipped, curled, and sprayed my hair. When she finished, I had to admit it looked very nice. Mom paid the bill, and as we left, she told me I looked very feminine. She asked if I wanted to get my nails done. I saw my reflection in the windows of a passing shop and realized just how much like a girl I really did look. I felt it coming on, tried to avoid it, but missed the chance. I liked dressing as a girl, and I liked the way I looked. Sure, I said, and Mom did a quick turnaround, leading me back inside the salon. It took almost an hour to get my nails done, during which I had to listen to a lecture about letting them go for so long. But when I emerged from the salon for the second time, my nails were longer, tapering to a rounded point, and painted a soft red with metallic flakes. The nails made my stubby fingers seem longer, slimmer, more like a girl's, and I liked it more than I wanted to admit. On the way out, Mom stopped at a popular shop that sold items to fit women, but was really a shop for men. I was fitted for a pair of pretty good breast forms. The woman showed Mom how to glue them on, which she did right there in the shop. Then I had to learn how to put a bra on again, but this time with boobs in the way. It was a struggle until Mom finally showed me the easy way. Walking out of the shop, I could feel the extra weight on my chest, every bounce and wiggle with every step I took. It felt strange, but I wasn't quite as lumpy as before, and I now filled out the bra perfectly. We also picked up 4 foam pads that women use to pad their hips if they need it, like I did. When we got home, I tried on the dress Mom had selected for me and saw why she thought it was perfect. It was. With the new boobs, my hair and nails done, I now had at least a fighting chance to get away with this, or so I thought. The next day, starting that afternoon, I endured the cream hair remover again, then a bubble bath filled with bath oils, and careful use of a razor to remove any missed hairs. By the time I stepped out of the tub, I was sure I could do this and decided to make a determined effort to do my best. I was still in a towel when Mom walked into the room and casually asked me if I wanted to do my best or just good enough. Without missing a beat, I told her I had to do my best or I would be dead. Take the towel off and lay on the bed, Scarlet. I think I can help. I can't say I wanted my mother to see me naked, but after all this, I sort of gave up, lay on the bed, and then she yanked the towel away. The bag of ice hit me like a hammer, and I sucked in my breath, trying not to jump off the bed. I felt her fingers as she pushed and shoved, then I saw the bottle of superglue in her hand. Before I could utter a word, she used it. "Stay there for a minute, let the glue take hold," she said that as she was adding more glue. After a few minutes, she let me up, and I rushed to the mirror to see what she had done. Instead of a male appendage, I now had a female pubis. The thin slit was defined by the surrounding hair and looked just like the real thing. I turned just as Mom walked out of the room, closing the door behind her. I didn't see that little smile of hers. I went back into the bathroom and used the razor to trim my groin, leaving just enough hair to obscure the falsity of it. As I got dressed, it was obvious that with the foam padding placed between my panties and my skin, right on my hips, the panties looked as normal on me as they would on any girl. I slipped on the pantyhose, then the panty brief, and went to my sister's vanity to do my makeup. Now I was driven to do my best, and the makeup came out perfect. Powder over the foundation to make my skin smooth and matte, green and grey eyeshadow, black eyeliner, and a black pencil to finish outlining my eyes, then black mascara and coral blusher. I slipped the brow on, adjusted my new charms, and added the waist cincher before I slipped the short slip over my head, then the dress. Short, it reached mid-thigh on me. It had a flaring skirt that tapered to a narrow waist and a fitted bodice, swelling over my breasts to a square-cut neckline. It had short sleeves, and as I zipped it up, I wondered if my arms were too heavy for a girl. What a strange thought that was. Who was I trying to impress? All I wanted to do was get through this without being discovered. I stepped into the black heels, then went back into Cheryl's room and selected black and gold earrings, a matching choker necklace, her gold watch, and a pair of rings that fit me. I applied the red lipstick across my lips 3 times, then spritzed myself with her perfume. With a brush and a few quick strokes, my hair fell back into place easily, and I knew I was ready, at least on the outside. I took the black purse, started to move my things into it, and saw an old wallet of hers. I grabbed it, put my stuff in it, then stuffed it into the purse along with my lipstick. One last look in the mirror, and I drew in a deep breath before I walked down the stairs. Not having an appendage between my legs made it easier to keep my legs together, and I felt much better about avoiding any inadvertent mishap that might reveal my manhood. Now, I didn't have one. The sound of my heels reached my mother before I did, and she was waiting for me as I walked into the family room. "Dan, you look as good as, if not better than, your sister." "Thank you, but tell me that tomorrow if I'm still in one piece." "You'll be fine. Just act demure and let the guys lead the way. It's all we do, and it makes the men feel important. We are important." "That's true, Scarlet. Women are also important, but young men don't realize that. Just don't be out later than 2. I meant we the men, and she meant we the women. I couldn't win. "I'll be home long before that, Mom." Mom and I had a quick dinner, and Esther arrived right on time. After some very complimentary words, we left together. Tiffany lives across town and goes to a different high school, so I hoped that not many kids there would know me anyway. Esther kept saying I would be hit on so many times I'd think I was a drum, but I figured that was just fluff to make me feel better. Esther is about my size, maybe even a bit taller, and she was a knockout. Dark brown hair and coal black eyes that twinkle when she's happy, and legs that seem to go on forever. I was okay until she pulled into the driveway, then I got cold feet, but she simply got out and stood there waiting for me. I couldn't stay in the car all night, so I finally got out and followed her inside. "Hi, Esther." "Who is this?" "Tiffany, this is Scarlet. She's related to my friend Cheryl. We all go to school together. Not one word of what she said was a lie, but Tiffany could infer that Esther had known me since childhood, and I was, therefore, a girl. I hoped everyone else thought so too. Esther and I were introduced around, and I noticed there were 2 extra boys there, obviously to keep us company. One of the guys, Travis, walked over and offered to get me a drink, so I went with him and watched as he poured it. His eyes sparkled, and he had a very nice smile. He was taller than I was in heels by about 2 inches and broader by a third. He turned on the charm, and I'll admit it, he was funny and not bad looking. If I were a girl, I would be trying to catch him. But as soon as the music started, he swept me into his arms and held me tightly as we moved slowly to the music. My breasts were pressed against his chest, and I was looking up at him when I felt his hand move south. I wanted him to stop, really, I did, but I didn't know how to say it, and he kept his hand there. After the dance, I picked up my drink, turned, and someone bumped my elbow, sending the drink flying all over my dress. I tried to wipe it off, but the material was synthetic, and it seemed to just pool in my lap, eventually soaking through to my panty brief. Tiffany and Esther came to my rescue, and I was quickly taken to Tiffany's bedroom. "Take that off, Scarlet. I'll loan you another dress." Esther was busy unzipping me, and while I was confident about what was in my panties, I wasn't so sure about the breast forms. I had no choice but to step out of the dress. I then pulled down the panty brief and went to clean up with a wash rag. The other dress fit really well, though it was a little shorter. Esther zipped it up while Tiffany put my dress in a bag for me. The 3 of us returned to the party, with me in a different dress, which of course only reinforced the idea that I was a girl. I mean, I had changed clothes right in front of 2 other girls, and they weren't screaming, so I must be a girl, right? I had seen Esther's reaction when I removed the brief. It was obvious that I didn't have any undue lumps and looked just like she did, but she was very cool about it and didn't let on that anything might not have been what it seemed. I wasn't sure what was happening to me. The less I tried, the more I became a girl. I was even beginning to like the attention I was getting. Esther drifted away, and Travis and I was soon dancing again. By this time, I had decided to just relax and go with it, so I was unprepared when Travis bent down and let his lips touch mine. I felt a shiver go down my back, and he did it again, only it lasted a bit longer. I wasn't sure what caused the shiver, fear or delight. "Would you like to go for a drive tomorrow, Scarlet? We can stop and get a bite to eat, drive by the lakeshore, then maybe you'll let me get a few pictures of you." With no thought about the consequences, my mind was still out of gear, but my mouth said, "I'd like that, Travis," and I watched him smile at me. Then my mind kicked in, and I realized what I had done. But how could I say no and make it sound convincing now? Esther came over and told me she was taking Guy, the fellow she was with, home, and asked if I could get a ride. Of course, Travis volunteered, so Esther simply pecked me on the cheek, told me she would call me, and left. Travis and I left a short time after that. When he pulled up in front of the house and looked at me, I knew that I would have to kiss him again, but I waited for him to make his move first. When his lips met mine, it was like fire as he pulled me tighter, and I felt his tongue against my lips. I couldn't help it. I opened my mouth and let him in. I was panting when he let go of me, and I opened the door and ran into the house. Mom was asleep, so I quietly went to my room, undressed, and went to bed. As I lay there, I knew that my life had changed. Everyone at that party thinks I'm a girl, Travis thinks I'm a girl, and now I wondered if I thought I was a girl too. My hand fell to the slit where there had once been a lump, and I let my finger trace it, back and forth, twice. The breast forms, still attached to my chest, looked almost real, which in effect made me a girl. Not quite male anymore, and not quite a girl. I was lost as my emotions struggled to accept the fact that I liked being a girl. I liked it when Travis kissed me, and I liked having breasts and a slit rather than a lump. I finally fell asleep and woke up rested with a whole new outlook on life. Naked, looking in the mirror the next morning, I saw the red tips of my nails, my hair slightly mussed but essentially fine. I did not see a boy or any remnant of one. I slipped on some panties, a top, and some shorts, and padded down to the kitchen. "Good morning, dear." "Morning, Mom." I was pouring some coffee when, right out of the blue, "Who brought you home last night, and do I know him?" How does she do that? I know she was sound asleep when I got home, so there was no way she could know about Travis. Travis brought me home, and I don't think you know him, but you'll get a chance to meet him later today. Oh. He's taking me for a drive and a simple lunch, that's all. Don't get crazy on me, Mother. She never mentioned it again, and right after breakfast, I went up and shaved as closely as possible, did my makeup, and brushed out my hair. For the ride that day, I decided to wear a skirt with a pullover top. I selected the navy skirt and a white top. The bra lifted my already perky boobs into the cups, and I smiled as I slipped the top over my head and pulled it down. I put on pantyhose and then the skirt. With the skirt on, I pulled the top down tight before adding some plain gold earrings and a watch. I applied some perfume and lipstick, stepped into the flats, grabbed my purse, and went back to the kitchen. When I walked in, I got the shock of my life. Dad was sitting there. I hadn't seen him in almost 4 years, and now he shows up. "Dear, this is Scarlet." "Scarlet, huh?" His eyes roamed over me from head to toe and back, his usual unsmiling face a mask. I didn't know him well enough to figure out what he was thinking, but I had to play the part or it was over. I put my purse down on the counter, walked over and poured another coffee, then sat at the table across from him, waiting. "You look very nice, but what I want to know is why you're dressed as a girl." Just then, the doorbell rang, and I jumped up to get it. Travis stood there smiling at me. "Hi, Scarlet." "Hi, Travis, come in." "Who is it, Scarlet?" "It's Travis, Mother." She walked into the foyer with Dad. Again, his masked expression kept me wondering what he was thinking. "Mom, Dad, this is Travis." Dad shook his hand, Mom smiled, then I grabbed my purse from the kitchen and rejoined Travis, standing beside him. "Have her back by dinner time, Travis, and drive carefully." "I will, ma'am." "Nice to meet you. Bye." I didn't hesitate when Travis took my hand and we walked outside. Travis could tell I was tense, but was smart enough not to ask me about it. He drove out of the city, and as we got nearer to the lake, he finally asked me about it. I told him I hadn't seen my father in over 4 years, and he picked this day to show up. I barely knew the man, yet he made me feel like a bug whenever he looked at me. "That's because you were a little girl the last time he saw you, and now you're a woman." The change must be hard on him too. The change Dad saw was from little boy to grown woman. That's why he was in shock. Then, when Travis showed up, clearly my date for the afternoon, that must have driven him nuts inside. But I'll give him credit for politeness. He never gave one sign that I was his son and not his daughter. I felt Travis' hand on my leg, and I put mine over his and left it there. I wasn't going to worry about what my father thought. I had made up my mind last night, so I wasn't worried about what I thought, and that left Travis. What did he think of me? I found out when he stopped the car high on the overlook, opened the trunk, and pulled out a blanket. Once we had it spread out, I sat next to him and let the sun hit my face. I felt his hand on my chin, turning my face, then his lips on mine. The shiver returned as he and I lay back on the blanket, our lips still united. I had fallen into this so easily that I wondered about myself, but with Travis pressing his lips hard against mine, I accepted the fact that I liked it a lot. Travis wanted more, of course, but I held him off, and later we stopped for lunch. Then he took me home. I was on cloud 9 when I walked into the house. Dad was gone. Mom was sitting in the family room. She asked how the day was. I said fine, and she kept on knitting. I was waiting for her to tell me what Dad had said after I left. I had to wait about 20 minutes. "Your father was quite shocked to see you were now a girl, but I told him that you were almost completely female now, and what he thought didn't matter. He did mention how much you looked like his mother. He also told me why he stopped by. He is getting married and wanted to tell everyone himself, not that I care, but he thought we should know. He wanted Cheryl to be in the wedding, Then he saw you and asked if you would both be willing to be a bridesmaid. I told him no. He has not been a part of your life for so long that it would be out of place for you girls to be in his wedding. You're not really his daughters anyway. He was just a sperm donor, as it turns out. He won't be back, by the way. We sat there watching television for a while. Then, right out of the blue, she asked me if I had enjoyed what I had done for Travis. There it was again. This woman I call mother is a witch, I think. What? What do you mean by that? Wipe off your mouth, dear, then ask me how I knew. I ran into the bathroom and saw that all of my lipstick had smeared off. I smiled at my reflection. I still liked what I had done and didn't feel quite as bad about it as I might have. I went back into the family room and sat down. That's when Mom put her knitting down and looked at me with that look she gets. I had this talk with Cheryl when she was 15. I guess it's your turn. Dating can be fun, and the men certainly like it when we give in to them. But you have to be careful, Scarlet, or you'll get a reputation you don't want. I can tell by the look on your face that you thought about doing something for Travis that I'll bet most girls have done, or thought about, and like them, you'll have to be discreet about it if you do something like that. You're 18 now, and I can only advise you, and my advice is not to do that, understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. Can I assume that you have decided to remain as Scarlet? Do I say goodbye to my son? It was the moment of truth for all of us, and I told her that I didn't see how I would be able to return to my manhood, given the number of people who have seen me and now think of me as a girl, especially Travis. For the entire next week, Mom watched me do my makeup and hair until she said I was good enough. Walking a mile in my sister's shoes, the joke I had provoked her with had blossomed into so much more than I imagined. Cheryl would be home on Friday night, and I planned on shocking her more than a little. 3 weeks had gone by, and during that time, she lost a brother and gained a sister. She'll never understand it and will be shocked at the same time. On Friday, right after lunch, I went to my room to get ready for Cheryl's return. It took almost 2 hours to get dressed, and when I looked in the mirror, I knew I had done it. My skin was silky smooth and soft, the makeup not overdone, and my hair held the curls because I wore rollers all night. I wore a push-up bra, the waist cincher, and with the foam hip pads, I had a very feminine shape. The pantyhose made my legs silky and tan, the short hem of the dress showing them off to my best advantage. I had bought the dress just for this day, and as I zipped it up, I knew it was the perfect choice. A pale blue, it had 2 1-inch wide straps to hold it up, a low, square-cut neckline that exposed the tops of my now swelling breasts, a fitted bodice that hugged my hips and ended at mid-thigh. I wore white heels with it to complement the white earrings and necklace. The soft red lipstick matched my nail polish. I was ready and went to the family room to await her arrival. While I was waiting, Travis called and asked me out to the show that night, but I had to beg off since Cheryl was coming home. He asked me for the next night, and I accepted. Mom came in to join me while we waited for her together, and when she saw me, all she did was smile. She knew exactly what I was doing and why. Cheryl walked into the house, called out for us, and Mom told her where we were. The minute she walked into the room and saw me, I saw the look of confusion cross her face, and she just stood there. Cheryl, let me introduce your sister, Scarlet. All at once, she let out a shriek, then ran over and gave me a hug. Remember when you told Scarlet that she should walk a mile in your shoes? Well, she did, and she found out she liked it, so Scarlet has been here every day for the last 3 weeks, and she now has a very wide circle of friends, including a very special friend. What? What? A special friend? What does that mean? You look fantastic. I can't believe it. Whoa. Go change first. We're all going out to dinner, and Scarlet, and I will explain everything. Well, Cheryl ran to her room, took a shower, changed clothes, did her makeup and hair in record time, and showed up dressed about the same as I was. Over dinner, we explained it to her how I discovered I liked being a girl and even looked like one when I was naked, which made her draw in her breath. Finally, I told her about Travis. I related the incident when I had to change clothes with Esther and Tiffany in the room and managed to pull it off without so much as a blink. After that, it was all questions about clothes and so on, and I admitted that I had been using hers, but all she did was grin at me and tell me she always wanted a sister and couldn't wait to meet this fellow Travis. She did, the next night when he came to pick me up. After that, we began to share a lot more things than we ever did before and grew very close. Travis was persistent, and just before the start of August, when we were on a hill overlooking the lake again, I gave in to him. I had thought about it a lot, but after 2 months as a girl, I knew in my heart that I could not return to being a man. He put a hand on each side of my face and pulled me to him, kissing me again and again. There was no hiding his excitement. It was pushing hard against his jeans. I tried to avoid even thinking about the fleeting thought that had crossed my mind, even though I had decided to do it. But when he kissed me, my hand found him all on its own. He pushed me down again, and while I'm not sure how he did it, he had set the monster loose. My hand felt naked skin, smooth and hard. His hand went up my skirt again, and as he stroked me, I stroked him back. He did not take long and erupted in my hand, making me pull away, giggling as I opened my purse for a tissue. Now I had gone too far, but it was done, and I could not take it back. He had his hand on me and felt a girl, which once again confirmed my status for him. Then I did it to him, and boys don't do that for boys, girls do. What happened next in my mind, I guess, and it just got out of hand, so to speak. He was lying on his back with that thing sticking straight up, my hand wrapped around it. When I kissed it, then more. I was committed now. There was no going back now that I had done that for Travis, and I didn't really want to return to being a boy. The truth is, I enjoyed it as much as he did, maybe more. At that moment, he was mine. I controlled him, and I did my best. I felt like a bowl of gelatin inside. I'm a boy, always have been, and I have never been attracted to other boys. But Travis, well, he ignited something inside of me, and knowing I was a girl, well. That fall, I started college as Scarlet, which was a trick all by itself, but I managed to get through it. Since I lived at home, it wasn't really a problem. I started taking hormones that fall, and by now, I have developed my own hips and bust line. I was almost a girl, but there was still one thing missing: a true, undeniable connection with someone who saw me for who I really was. Travis and I had grown closer over the months, but I still hadn't told him the whole truth about my past. I was terrified that he would reject me, that he would see me as something less than the girl he had fallen for, but I knew I couldn't keep living with this secret hanging over my head. I had to tell him, and I had to do it soon. One crisp autumn evening, Travis picked me up for a date. He had planned a romantic dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant downtown. The soft glow of the candles and the comforting aroma of garlic and tomatoes filled the air. As we sat down, I knew this was the moment. I had to tell him tonight. "Travis," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "There's something I need to tell you, something important." He looked at me with those warm, caring eyes. "Scarlet, you can tell me anything. You know that." I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. "Travis, I wasn't always Scarlet. I was born a boy, but I've always felt like a girl inside. That's why I started dressing as a girl, and that's why I'm taking hormones now. I'm almost a girl, but I need you to know the truth." Travis' expression didn't change. He reached across the table and took my hand. "Scarlet, I've known for a while. I could see the changes in you, and I could see how happy you were. I didn't want to push you to tell me before you were ready." Tears welled up in my eyes. "You knew, and you still want to be with me." He smiled gently. "Scarlet, I love you. I love you for who you are, not for who you were. You're the most amazing person I've ever met, and I want to be with you no matter what." I couldn't believe it. All this time, I had been so afraid, and he had known all along. I felt a wave of relief and joy wash over me. "I love you too, Travis. More than you'll ever know." We finished our dinner. The weight of my secret lifted from my shoulders. As we walked out of the restaurant, hand in hand, I felt a sense of completeness I had never known before. I was almost a girl, but with Travis by my side, I knew I could face anything. That night, under the starlit sky, Tragus got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. I said yes, without a moment's hesitation. We would face the future together, as husband and wife, as man and woman, as two people deeply in love. And so, my journey as Scarlet continued, filled with love, acceptance, and the promise of a happy ending. I was almost a girl, but in Travis' eyes, I was everything he ever wanted. And that was enough for me.